So the unit circle, that all of you guys know how to read it now. So those are the exact value of 30, 45, 60, and 90. So this much is 30 degrees. This is 45, and that's 60 degrees. Then we go to 90 degrees. Of course, we start from 0, correct? This is when this line, when the terminal side is on the 0, so it will be 0 degree. For each angle, the point that terminal side makes it to the unit circle, there is a coordinate here, which is x comma y. We said x is same as cosine of theta and y equal to sine of theta at that point. For example, when theta is 30, cosine of 30 will be radical 3/2, and sine of 30 will be 1/2. Good. I would like you guys to memorize for the angle 30, 45, 60, and 90 for sine and cosine, also 0. We don't want to rely on this unit circle all the time. If you learn the quadrant 1 very well, which this is quadrant 1, correct? Then quadrant 2, 3, 4 will be all the x and y axis is similar to quadrant 1. For example, sine of 120 degrees, we don't need to memorize this. You need to memorize 30, 45, 60, correct? But 120 is not on the first quadrant, it's quadrant 2. So our job is to find the reference angle. So 0, 30 degrees, 45, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. So those are the quadrant 1. 120 is not there. If you draw 120, 120 will be here, correct? This is 120. We go to quadrant 2. On quadrant 2, the value of, so the quadrant 2, you need to take care of the positive or negative. On quadrant 2, sine is positive, so you're going to say positive. And this is a reference angle, which is 60 degree. How did I get 60 degree here? Because this is 180 minus 120, 60. So sine of 120 equivalent to plus sine of 60 degree. Sine of 60 degree, you already know it. You don't need the unit circle. Sine of 60 degree is radical 3/2. All right. No question. Very good. So now let's look inside of the unit circle. Let's analyze all the number that you see on the coordinate as x and y. Here is 30 degrees, correct? We have cosine of 30 degrees, comma, sine of 30 degrees. Cosine of 30 degrees radical 3/2, and sine of 30 is 1/2. We have exactly same number 1/2 and radical 3/2 here, but they changed. This is cosine of 60 degree, comma, sine of 60 degree. So Arthur, this makes it easy for us to memorize. Because if you memorize one of them, so 30 and 60, they changed. So cosine of 30 is same as sine of 60, and sine of 30 equivalent to cosine of 60. All right, so what's happening here? So can you guys tell me it's true or false? Is that sine of 60 degree equal to cosine of 30 degrees? True or false?
True.
Thanks, Corinne. This is true. How do we know it? We can just look at the table. Sine of, or the unit circle. Sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2, and cosine of 30 is radical 3 over 2. And they're equal. So this is true. What about sine of 45 degrees equal to cosine of 45 degrees? Is this true or false? Elizabeth, true or false?
True.
Very good. So sine of 45 is radical 2 over 2, and cosine of 45 is radical 2 over 2. Another question, what about cosine of 60 degree equal to sine of 30 degrees?
True.
Again, true. Cosine of 60, that's 60 degree. Cosine is value of x is 1/2. Sine of 30 is 1/2, so they're equal. So now I'm going to make another question. What about cosine of 25 degrees equal to sine of 65 degrees? Are these two are equal?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's investigate who said that. Who was it?
It was me because I noticed that like every like 30 degrees, the sine and the cosine is the same. It's just like it's the opposite.
Okay, good observation. Very. So anybody else? So Karen said it's true. Jason, is it true?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with her for
But
cosine 60 equals sine 30 then. Makes sense.
so you got 5 off here, 5. So we are dealing with 25 degrees, correct? 25 degrees is an angle that you don't need to memorize and is not inside of this unit circle. Good. So what should we do? We use a calculator. Can you use the calculator to tell me cosine of 25 and sine of 65 are they equal? If we use a calculator.
Nah,
No?
they're not.
What did you get for cosine of 25?
You can.
0.91.
What is sine of 65?
Oh, I put in the wrong thing. Sorry,
Like
saying
point-
91
No, so they're equal, right?
calculator.
So
yeah.
Karen was right. So they are equal. So now we can come up with some type of formula. Not formula, some property about 6 trigonometric function. They call them co-function. Co-functions. What does it mean? That means cosine of theta equal to sine of 90° minus theta. So that's what we had. The example was, okay, let's go back to this. All the example that was true, if you add this, look at 60, we have 60, 30. If you add them, you get 90. 45, 45. If you add them, you get 90. Then we had another 60 and 30, and 25 and 65. If you add them, you get 90. So if you add them equal to 90, then they are equal. Or, for example, cosine of theta equal to sine of 90 minus theta. Same as sine of theta equal to cosine of 90 minus theta. Good. So you don't need to use a calculator if I say true or false. So if you add them, you get 90 degrees. That means they are co-functions. So the co-functions, then we have sine of theta equal to cosine of 90 minus theta. So sine and cosine, they're co-functions. Then we have the same thing in tangent. Tangent of theta equal to cotangent of 90 minus theta. And cotangent of theta equal to tangent of 90 minus theta. So tangent and cotangent are co-function. And we have two left, which is secant and cosecant. We can have that too. We can have secant of theta equal to cosecant of 90° minus theta. And cosecant of theta equal to secant of 90 minus theta. Which is very useful when you're solving some trigonometric equations, and it's easy to memorize. Let's have a couple questions here. True or false? Secant of 24 degrees equal to cosecant of 66 degrees. True or false? Secant and cosecant, they are co-functions, correct? If we add them, you get 90, therefore they're equal. We don't, I mean 24 and 66, right? If you add them, is 90 degrees, so this is true. What about tangent of 71 degree equal to cotangent of 19 degrees? That's true as well. because 71 degree plus 19 degree give us 90 degrees, and tangent and cotangent are co-function, and therefore this is true. What about cosine of 52 degree equal to secant of 38 degrees? Jake?
I don't have my calculator right now, but I'm pretty sure that would be correct.
Well, I said too many truths. I just made this not true. So we see 52 degrees. Pretty good that you said calculator, because we are not dealing with 30, 45, and 60. So 52 and 30 is something that you need to use a calculator. But before we punch in the calculator and waste some batteries, we have 52 and 38. If you add them, you get 90 degrees, correct? So there are some properties we just learned. Another question is cosine and secant, are they co-functions? No. The co-functions, this is not true because they are not co-function. Cosine is with sine, correct? The co-function are sine and cosine, tangent and cotangent, secant and cosecant. We cannot mix them. That's not allowed. Good. All right, let's have another question. Given sine of theta equal to radical 3/2, and theta is in quadrant 2. Good. They ask us to find the remainder of trigonometric functions. Find cosine of theta. Then we have tangent of theta, cotangent of theta, secant of theta, and cosecant of theta. So we get 6 in total. So as I said before, this is the type of question that you all see it all the time. I give you sine of theta, and I asked you guys other 6 trigonometric functions. Anytime for this type of question, they need to tell us where is the theta. Otherwise, we will be confused, because on the unit circle, each quadrant, we're gonna have the same number, but we have to make sure it's positive or negative. So if they tell us where theta lies, then we make sure that what is the sign of this those remaining of trigonometric functions. So we need to know that. So when you look at the sine theta, we see is radical 3/2, correct? On the unit circle, do we have radical 3/2? Yeah, radical 3/2 is something that you should ring the bell, because what in the unit circle, if you see, we have radical 3/2, correct? We have radical 3/2. We have radical 3/2. So there's something that this is great, because they give us a question that theta, that you know the exact value of the theta. Your job is to know which quadrant is that. This is the quadrant 2, so this is gonna be the theta. The theta is here. They are not asking us to solve for theta. They're not saying, oh, theta is 120. No, they're asking what is cosine of theta. So now that you are make sure that, now that we are sure that theta is this one, is this is a theta, and value of sine is radical 3/2. Good. So the unit circle will answer it. We don't need to do any algebra. We just need to look at the table that you have in your note sheet or unit circle that you have in your note sheet. Because cosine of theta is -1/2. Comes from here. Tangent of theta. So then tangent of theta in quadrant 2, tangent of theta is negative, cotangent is negative, secant is opposite of cosine is negative, and cosecant is positive. You need to know that. I mean, I wrote it fast, but it should make sense to you. Tangent is sine over cosine. So it will be radical 3/2 over 1 -1/2. 2 will cancel, we have negative radical 3. Cotangent will be negative radical 3/3. How did I get this? Same thing, reciprocal of tangent. Secant of theta is reciprocal of cosine, which is going to be 2. Cosecant going to be reciprocal of sine, 2/radical 3. You irrationalize it, you get 2√3/3. So we got all the 6 trigonometric value. On your note sheet, beside having this unit circle, which has only sine and cosine, I would like to, you guys have like tangent and cotangent, all the 6 of them. So this is cosine, sine, then we got tangent going to be √3, cotangent going to be √3/3, cosecant is 1/sine, which is 2√3/3, and secant is 2. Correct? This is secant, cosecant, cotangent, tangent. Well, the unit circle doesn't look good, but for sure, sine and cosine for sure, but the rest is optional. You'll save some time in exam. Also, it would be good to have it on the table. Table means theta, 0, 30 degrees, 45, 60 degrees, 90 degrees. You should know sine, cosine, tangents, and cotangent. Well, then secant and cosecant. So if you know this one, if you know the unit circle, you will do very good in this course. Good. Should we fill it up? So sine 0 is 0, 9 is 1, cosine 0 is 1, this is 0, this is 1/2, this is 1/2, this is radical 3/2, this is radical 3/2, this 2 is 1. So it's easy to memorize it as well, now that you know the cofunctions. Tangent and cotangent are 1. Why did I put 1? What's wrong with it? This is radical 3. Sorry about that. Radical 2/2, radical 2/2. Tangent is sine over cosine, will be 0. This will be infinity. If you divide, you get radical 3/3. This is radical 3. This is infinity. radical 3, radical 3 over 3, and 0. Secant is 1 over cosine, E1, 2 radical 3 over 3, radical 2, 2, and infinity. I might go a little fast here, but those numbers should make sense to you. This 4 coming from this 2. And we proved it very good. Cosecant is 1 over sine, infinity, 2, radical 2, 2 radical 3 over 3, and 0. All right. Now let's have another question.
Professor,
Yes.
before you move on, I have a question about the the problem that we did before, like when we drew theta. How did why is it that theta wasn't just to 30 degrees?
Very good question, Elizabeth. Let's see.
Because when I was going ahead just to see if I was right, and I thought that cosine or sin would be positive 1/2, but then you drew theta further and then it was negative 1/2. So my question is how do you know?
So you're talking about this question, correct?
Yeah.
So they said sine of theta is radical 3 over 2. And radical 3 over 2 on the unit circle, radical 3 over 2 sine. So it should be, this is a sine. So it should be 60 degrees, correct? Good. So theta should be 60 degrees. On the unit circle, that's a good question, Elizabeth. I would like you to just clarify this one. So we have, so sine of theta equal to root 3 over 2. On the unit circle, this theta is 60 degrees. If you see unit circle sine of 60 degrees, radical 3 over 2. Also, sine of 120 degrees equal to radical 3 over 2. So we have two different angles give us same length of our sine. So which one should we pick? They give us extra information. They said theta is in quadrant 2. 60 degrees is in quadrant 1, correct? 120 is in quadrant 2. So we don't get 60 degree, we get 120. Also, in question like this, you're not solving for theta. They ask us what is cosine of theta. I think I know what you're saying. You're saying, so I see. So this extra information tells us which quadrant is that. I think you are telling me that sine of theta equal to radical 3 over 2 equal to cosine of 30. You said this is 60, then the co-function is 30. That's what you're going to?
Yeah, it makes sense now.
You're mixing it up. This is nothing to do with the question here. Again, I'm not asking the theta. I'm asking cosine of theta. I'm asking tangent of theta. Solving for theta, that's different section in this book that we're probably gonna have a couple questions on this, but solving for theta is different than question that ask us what is the remainder of trigonometric functions. Let's have another example like this one. Given sine of theta equal to 3/7 and theta is in quadrant 2. Good. So we have this information, and they ask us solve the remaining of trigonometric function. That means we need to find value of cosine. We have to find cosine of theta, tangent of theta, cotangent of theta, and secant of theta and cosecant of theta. Agree? So this is like a question that you see a lot in this course. I give you only sine of theta, and I tell you again, I need to specify where is the theta. So theta is in quadrant 2. How do I know this? They said theta is less than 180. This is 180, correct? Less than 180 and more than 90. So it's going to be on this quadrant, between 90 and 180. Sometimes in homework, they tell you it's quadrant 2. They tell you the name, the quadrant, but sometimes they make it like this. So we have one value, which is sine of theta is 3/7. Do you see 3/7 in your table? Do you see it here? Do we see it?
No.
No. So 3/7 is not part of the agreement. Those all 1/2, radical 3/2, radical 2/2. Those were something that you see in a unit circle. So question like this, that means the unit circle or the table that you have in your note sheet doesn't help. So it doesn't help. What we should do, we need to use Pythagorean theorem or algebra. So stop me if I'm going too fast. So we need to just make the x and y, graph the theta, for example. So we are in, this is 90 degrees. That's 180. So I randomly make a theta here. Good. For example, this is going to be on the circle. This is a theta, but you know we cannot make a Pythagorean theorem, or we cannot put that theta inside of the right triangle. So what we do, we find the reference one. This is a reference angle, which you will call it theta. Good. So you can just erase this. Now you make a right triangle. Sine of theta equal to 3/7. We learn on the right triangle, sine of theta will be opposite over hypotenuse. hypotenuse. Good. We also learn this is same as y over r. Good. So this is x, this is y, and that's r. In your note sheet, you wrote cosine of theta is x over r, tangent is y over x, cotangent is x over y, secant is r over x, and cosecant is r over y. Cool, so we have that. So another, the thing is we have to solve x, y, and r. You have to know what is x, what is y, what is r. If we find that, then we just substitute to the value. What is the value of y here?
Why is that? It's gonna be going up. Sine is y over r7.
Very good. R is 7. So we have, so look at sine of theta is 3 over 7. This is same as y over r. So y is 3, r is 7. So you can say 7 for r, 3 for y. Now how do we solve for x? Pythagorean theorem. We're gonna have x squared plus y squared equal to r squared. We have x squared plus 9 or plus 3 squared equal to 7 squared. From here, we get x squared plus 9 equal to 49 minus 9, x squared equal to 40. So those are the, so we haven't solved for x yet because x squared equal to 40. So what is value of x?
Q square root of 10.
Good calculator, Elizabeth. X will be plus minus root 40, which is plus minus 2 root 10. Now the question is, we have plus and minus, correct? Do we get plus 2 root 10 or negative 2 root 10? Jason?
It's in Q2, so it should be positive, right?
No, here, x is positive or negative on this card.
Oh, negative.
Negative, yeah. So negative 2 root 10. So x is negative 2 root 10, y is 3, r is 7. For people who don't know how radical 40, to simplify radical 40, radical 40 is not prime, and is not perfect square. If we divide it by 2, you get 20. 2 is prime. 20 is not prime. That means you can find two numbers that you multiply, you get 20, which is 2 times 10. 10 is not prime, is 2 times 5. 2 is prime, 5 is prime. For each pair of number, you leave that outside of radical. And whatever number left, which is 2 and 5, and they are not pair of numbers, we put it inside. 2 times 5 is 10. So you get 2 root 10. So the level of difficulty for question like this, I know you had this on your homework, similar question on your homework. The level of difficulty, making a right triangle and solving for using Pythagorean theorem is fine. But the algebra part, to make it, you can simplify it to the radical form, is kind of I feel, in most people, they don't like that part. So you have to make sure we don't do any mistake. So now that we have all the three values, we can substitute. Cosine of theta is x over r, which is negative 2 radical 10 over 7. Good. Which cosine is negative. Tangent is y over x, which is 3 over negative 2 root 10. We need to irrationalize it. We got to multiply by radical 10. The answer will be 3 radical 10 over 20 negative. Cotangent is x over y, negative 2 root 10 over 3.
Professor,
Yes.
to get rid of the negative 20 on the denominator, do you just move the negative sign to the numerator?
Yes.
Okay.
Something about what Elizabeth said. So if we have negative a over b, you can write this one as negative a over b. You can write this one a over negative b. So you can move them around as long as there's only one negative, correct? All of them are same. Usually we like to leave it on here, but this is fine. This is fine too, but little ugly. I mean, we had 3 over negative 2 root 10. I move this negative over here to just make it pretty. Good. Those are the same. So I multiply by radical 10, radical 10. I get negative 3 radical 10 over radical 10 times radical 10 is radical 100. Is 10, gives you 20.
Thank you.
Sure. So now what is r over x for the secant? R over x will be r is 7, x is negative 2 root 10. This gives us 7 root 10 over 20 with negative number. And cosecant r over y, which is 7 over 3. Any question here? So we are in quadrant 2. In quadrant 2, we learn cosine is negative and sine is positive, correct? So the value here is negative because because x is negative. My point is, do not multiply this by negative again. We already taking care of it. we already said, we already put the sign for this x. So all the x, y here, they have their own sign. X become negative and y is positive. So you do not need to worry about what's the sign of tangent or cotangent. If you put the value for y and x, exact value for them, so you will get the right answer. So don't rethink that. So there is a homework online, I think homework 5 or 6, about the new thing that we just learned. The due is on next Wednesday. It's not that many questions, but it's a new topic, so you should be expert on that. Expert means that I know there's so many calculation, but in this page that you see, expert means each step should make sense to you, but each step might take you a couple hours. It's okay. It's algebra. It's advanced algebra, but it should make sense to you. That means you become expert. True or false? Sine of 21 degree greater than sine of 18 degrees. True or false?
True.
True. So if this is this is 18, for example, correct? And this is 21. We said sine is value of y, correct? This is 21. So this is 18. And this is 21. Which one is bigger? So is the orange one, is this length is bigger or this one? The 21, correct? So Karen said true. So yes, this is true. So what you see, you start seeing an angle that you don't know exact value. The exact value is only 30, 60, 45. So 21 and 18, there's not on the unit circle. One way is you can use a calculator and compare the decimal. But if you see it like this, it would be great if by visualizing it, you answer the question. What about cosine of 21 greater than sine of 18? Oh, cosine of 18 degree. Is this true or false?
False.
Very good. It is. Oh, use a calculator. Yeah. This is of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Very interesting. So, okay, there's nothing wrong with it. 21 is you shouldn't memorize. You shouldn't know it because it's not a unit circle. What Elizabeth did, find the cosine of 21, stored it, and cosine of 18, another decimal. They compare it. But when you see it on the unit circle, this is 18. Cosine is value of x, correct? this much is cosine of 18, and this much is cosine of 21 degree. So cosine of 21, the orange one, is less than cosine of 18. So this is false. Good. So what I'm saying here, do not make a decision quickly by the number. If the number is big, I mean, we don't compare the number. We're dealing with the cosine of that or sine of this. So this is false. All right, guys, I can stop here. Any other question? You guys have a question for me? That's extra credit.